Manly P. Hall spoke about 10 guidelines to live a better life. And through these set guidelines, I think almost everyone can take away some key lessons on living a better life. Now, one of the first guidelines is to stop worrying, right? Now, not only does worrying not help you with your situation, worrying never helps the situation. It literally doesn't serve a purpose. Not only that, but Manly P. Hall also speaks about when you worry about something or when you have something on your mind a lot, it literally creates entities in your mind, right? Evil entities that feed off of these thoughts and grow bigger with time. So when you're always thinking about something, whether it's positive or negative, you are literally manifesting that current situation into your life. And that's why it's very important that you police your thoughts in a way. Not police your thoughts, but you don't have to police your thoughts, but be wary of what you think about and always shift into a positive mindset. And catch yourself when you start to drift into the negativity. Otherwise, you'll spiral and ends up attracting the very situations that you don't want to happen, right? Always focus on attracting positivity and growth into your life. Now, the second rule is stop trying to dominate and possess your friends and relatives. This is also some pretty good advice. When I was growing up, I was stuck in the mindset where everything I did was right, and some of my friends and family were just wrong about the way they thought about certain things. And the thing is, most people do think like that, just in general. Most people have the idea that their method of doing things is right, right? Almost everyone has that thought process, right? And I've learned to humble myself enough where I keep an open mind and I kind of learn about other people's opinions. And I also don't try to force my opinions on others because not only is this not effective, but it can also push people away from just in general developing a relationship with you. I've learned to accept that everyone's different. I'll give my opinion on something if someone asks me, but everyone is different and everyone has their own life path and methods of doing things. Now, rule number 3 is moderate ambition, right? A lot of people are focused on being ambitious and successful, which is great, but also realize that there must be balance within the universe. And, in The Shining, they have a scene where it's like all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, which is true. If you focus on being ambitious and becoming successful, it works out. You might make your money, but a lot of guys that make a lot of money, they tend to fall into the trap where they forget to have fun and they forget how to have fun and they forget how to sit back and relax and learn to appreciate the little things like family. And a lot of people don't appreciate their family until they get older or until it's like kind of long past. So learn to appreciate the little things and the things that money can't buy, right? Rule number 4 is do not accumulate more than you need, right? Now, this rule is a little bit controversial. Some people are focused on making as much money as possible, but in a way, it has an applicable way of doing things, right? There are some guys in this world that made $1 million and they get super focused on making 5 million, and they get super focused on making 10 million after that. And the problem with this way of doing things is they become never satisfied and they become hyperfixated on a number. And once they reach that goal, they move the goalposts and become hyperfixated on another number, right? You should focus on not necessarily accumulating so much more than you need, because you'll never be satisfied. And not only will you never be satisfied, you'll be focusing on things that don't matter. If you already have 1 million, accumulating 10 million may not be as important as it is improving your relationship with your friends and family, taking a vacation with your friends, developing a deeper relationship with another person, right? So I think that's what Manly P. Hall speaks about when he says do not accumulate more than you need. Because once you focus on just accumulating more resources than you need, you get stuck in the trap of where you'll never be satisfied and you'll be feeling empty inside. And you'll not focus on the things that actually matter in your life, right? So it's some very good advice. Rule number 5 is learn to relax, right? Learn to literally sit back and relax and not worry about certain things and don't think about any negativity, and learn to relax and enjoy the moment. A lot of people are focused on tomorrow, what the future is going to be like, that they forget to enjoy the moment. Learn to relax and enjoy the present moment and take everything in and learn to appreciate the beauty of little things around you, right? Rule number 6 is cultivate a sense of humor, right? A lot of people walk through life and they have no sense of humor and they take themselves a little bit too serious, right? Now, humor can be in your personality, but you can still develop a way of being able to take a joke, right? There's a lot of guys who are bitter and they don't know how to take a joke. And as a result, they'll get mad at people that tend to make jokes. Now, the problem with that is this is going to severely develop your relationships with people, especially people that want to joke around with you, that want to be friends. You're going to realize that a lot of people make jokes with you because they want to be friends. And if you take it the wrong way, not only are people going to be put off by you, but people are not going to want to hang out with you if you can't take a joke. So it's very important to cultivate a sense of humor, that so much so that other people can enjoy having a conversation with you. Now, pretty much the 7th rule would be find a reason for your own existence, right? Some people believe in fate and destiny. I believe God has divine life purpose for every person that he will bring to fruition, that he will show you if you follow his path, right? So every person has a reason why they exist, and every person has a current life path that they are in this world for. So once you find a reason for your own existence, you find completeness, right? And you're going to realize as you grow spiritually that a lot of people on this world are like kind of like a lost and found, where they're lost. They're feeling lost in life. They're not really sure what to do. Do they want to watch TV today? Do they want to work a job? Do they want to buy new clothes? A lot of people are lost, and they'll indulge themselves in activities that make them feel emptier and emptier. And these people never feel complete because they don't find a reason for their own existence. They never end up finding their life purpose. So it's really imperative that I think most people find their life purpose. I believe God has intended a life purpose for everyone that will be displayed to you once you align yourself with his plans. Now, rule number 8 is never intentionally harm another person, right? And I think Manly P. Hall is a big believer in karma and reincarnation, and he speaks about these subjects pretty extensively. But nothing good comes out of harming another person. And Manly P. Hall speaks on karma being a literal law of the universe, where it is literally intertwined with the universe. So when you intentionally set out to harm another person, not only is karmic retribution going to come back at you, and you will experience how you want to be treated, but in the general sense, people will treat you the way you treat other people. Even if they don't see the way that you treat other people, people can literally walk around and sense if you're a good person or not, whether you treat people good or not behind closed doors or open doors. So never set out to intentionally harm another person, because this will set out to get you. And in general, it is not a good thing to do. It makes the world worse. We're focused on making the world a better place. And in general, this is a great way of doing things, right? So in the general sense, rule number 9 is beware of anger, right? Anger is a very strong emotion that can take you out of the logical frame of mind and put you in an emotional frame of mind where you tend to make bad decisions. So always be wary of your anger and always check yourself on that. If someone did you dirty, or if someone did something to you that wasn't correct, then maybe you can, set out to, release your emotions in a healthy way. Let them know how you feel. Some people feel the need to, basically get even with the person. But, what's not cool is intentionally setting out to harm another person and going so far that you're willing to get revenge to a worse extent than what the person did to you. That does not bring bad karma. That does not bring good karma, and that will bring a lot of bad karma if you set out to really hurt someone like that, worse than they did to you. And then this starts this never-ending cycle of negative emotions where you're spiraling, and the other person is going to feel the need to get you back as well. And So it's something to keep in mind. Do be aware of anger and what it can lead to. It's not necessarily that anger is a negative emotion in itself, but be aware of anger and be aware that actions that people take always originate from thought. So that is why you should be aware of angry emotions that you're feeling and thinking, because that will eventually lead to actions that you might indeed regret, right? Rule number 10 is never blame others for their own mistakes. And this is one of my favorite ones because as people, we never have the tendency to really look at ourselves in the mirror and admit that we may have made a mistake, right? Let's say someone's late for work. They never tend to look in the mirror and say, hey, I probably should have woken up 10 minutes earlier and I would have been all right. They're like, okay, well, the train was running a little bit late today. It was that conductor's fault. It was the bus driver's fault. He came a little bit late today. They never look at themselves in the mirror and say, I should have left 10 minutes earlier, right? I should have woken up 10 minutes earlier. And as people, we generally tend to avoid blaming ourselves for mistakes, right? Which can be a good thing, right? We should learn to forgive ourselves, right? And generally release ourselves from any mistakes or regrets that we have done. But in general, you should never focus on blaming another person for your mistakes. And you should practice looking inward, right? When a negative situation occurs, what was the cause of this situation? How could I have avoided this situation, right? If someone gets fired from their job, usually they're quick to blame a manager or a supervisor. But what if the manager or supervisor tells you, hey, I fired you because you were showing up late to work almost every day? Then the mindset switches and it's like, okay, maybe they weren't out to get me and maybe I had done something to them first for them to think this, right? So never try to blame someone for their own mistakes that you might be making. And when a situation like this occurs, I'm not saying that, it might not be someone's responsibility. It might be someone's responsibility that something had happened to you, but always look inward, right? Always practice looking inward and looking at yourself in the mirror and say, did I do something to have this mistake occur? Well, what was my part in this? Because once you begin to look inward, you can begin to hold yourself accountable and avoid making the mistake in the future. So these are 10 rules that Manly P. Hall writes that is generally a better way to live through life.